All right, everybody. Not the prettiest win in the world, but a win nonetheless. Celtics 113-99 over the Brooklyn Nets. This is a Green with Envy live post game. We are live on YouTube, live on Twitter. You guys know the deal. Let's lock in. What up, what up, what up? Welcome into another edition of Green with Envy. This is a live post-game edition of Green with Envy. Celtics a 113-99 winner over the Brooklyn Nets. As always, this is Will Weir checking in. How you doing? How you living? Joining me as he does each and every time, my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast, the one and only Greg Menakis. Greg, dare I say the Boston Celtics have a little bit of momentum. 8-7, over 500 for the first time this season.
Yeah, they definitely have momentum, man, and it's nice to be above 500. There was a moment early in the season where I didn't know that we'd ever get there. There's also a mosquito flying around my room, and I just got him. Yeah, it's nice. We have to win the games against the Nets and against shitty teams. Like early in this game where I was like, are we really not even as good as like beating the Nets by double digits? And then we figured out how to be better basketball players than we were in the first half. So it was nice to see.
Yeah, and you said it exactly. You know, for this team to be whatever they're going to be, whatever you judge as this being a successful season, these are the games you can't lose. This isn't a back-to-back. You've had days off. You should be plenty rested despite playing, on Sunday. You had 3 days before that. This is nothing out of the ordinary. You got 2 more days off and you're going to play this Nets team again. Like, these are the games you have to win, right?
Yeah.
There's no excuse to lose these games. And to your point, it was interesting watching this game, and we'll talk a little bit about that Celtics Clippers game as well here in a bit, or we can kind of work it into the discussion as part of both these games, since we haven't given our thoughts on that. But you're right, it felt a little sluggish early, and the Celtics ended up with 19 turnovers tonight, right? Like that's been the one mainstay. Yeah, it's been the mainstay. That's been their superpower this year that has kept them. That's been their elite statistic, right, that they've been able to produce, is that they don't turn the ball over. And tonight they did quite a bit. And so it kept Brooklyn kind of hanging around. And I thought this game was really funny from a Joe Mazzulla perspective, because it felt like he just couldn't find a 5 that he liked. Like there was not a lineup that he liked tonight. If your name wasn't Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, or Jaylen Brown, it was just kind of a carousel, right, of who else is going to be out there, because those 3 guys he was going to trust no matter what, and that's going to be the way it is throughout the entire season, as it should be. And everyone else on a night like this, like to the point that we're leading with here, you just simply can't lose that game. Joe wasn't going to let that happen. He was going to find somebody that was going to work, that was going to impact this game. And it took a while to find different combinations, but I did think it was really funny watching Joe just continuously not being thrilled with the 5 that were on the court.
Yeah, he played 11 guys tonight. So guys who got run tonight. Starting lineup tonight was Brown, Walsh, Cada, White, and Pritchard. That's been the starting lineup for the past, I think, 5 games now at this point. Simons had 26 minutes, good in the first half off the bench. Garza, 20 minutes. Hauser, 22 minutes. Minot, who played well, 19 minutes. Shireman got 13 minutes. And the X-Man got off the bench for 5. So 11 guys deep. No Ugo, no Boucher in this game. Ugo seemingly has fallen out of the rotation over the last couple of games, but
the use of Ugo has been a bit strange throughout the season, right? It's been a little bit up and down. Again, he is only 19, so maybe that's a part of it. But playing 11 guys, like the part that sticks out to me, Greg, is 10 of those 11 guys played over 11 minutes in this game. Like that's like, it wasn't just that guys played; it's like guys played pretty significant stretches of time.
And the craziest thing was Jaylen played 10 minutes in the first half. And there was, he said after the game on Sunday that he was sick. And at first I was like, is this a product of him being sick? But he also like wasn't playing that well in the first half. And Pritchard and Simons were both playing well, right? So if Pritchard and Simons, or at least scoring the ball well. So if those two guys are scoring the ball well, then maybe you can just kind of say, all right, Jalen, you can chill this half because I do have Josh Mina, Jordan Walsh to play defense.
And let's talk about Anthony Simons just for a minute. My
Your
favorite and least
guy.
favorite topic to talk about this season. And you're like, these are the games where, especially in that first half, and like you said, Anthony Simons played well enough in that first half, scoring, did all of basically his entire stat sheet is from the first half, right? Like basically felt pretty invisible in the second half. And it feels like, listen, there's issues with, I think, the way Simons plays, the way that Missoula utilizes him, like all around the experience is just very frustrating, I feel. But these are the type of games, like you think about the best scoring game he's had this year, outside of that burst from the Magic for first half against the Magic, was that Pelicans game, right? And it's the Pelicans, it's the Wizards, it's the Nets, it's the when we play the Pacers, like these are the teams that it's like, hey, Simons, can you please help give Jalen like a night where he doesn't have to put on a cape, like, and that's what you were kind of waiting for tonight. And to a degree in the first half, he at least helped, keep I think the Celtics were up by 1 at the half. Like, certainly Simons contributed to that. But ultimately, Jalen had to come out and put up 17 points in the third quarter for this to turn into a Celtics win. And so it's one of those games where it's like, based on what the expectation was of Anthony Simons, I wish this was a game where I could feel like, hey, go get us 20 to 25. Jalen can kind of just coast a little bit. And it just hasn't been that way so far.
I mean, he's not a two-way player. That's the biggest thing with him. Like, Joe took him out at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and it was just because he's not going to provide anything on the defensive side of the ball. So if he's not super hot, then Joe's like, I don't really know why I should play this guy. If he's
doesn't do much.
If he's not,
doesn't do much.
Yeah,
he's not scoring.
Really do much. That's why he
did
played
have 5
12
assists tonight, though.
Yeah, no, he played well tonight in the first half. He only had 12 minutes against the Clippers, right? So
0 goose egg in that one. Yeah.
Tough game for Simons against the Clippers. Comes back. I thought he actually played pretty well in the first half. He's finally figured out that half court trap and how to hit the short roll, so we can kind of put that to bed for now. He's figured that little pocket pass out, which is nice. And he got hot for a stretch, and if he can have, you keep thinking about when this team is whole and when Jason Tatum comes back, if he can have a 6-minute stretch in one of the two halves where he provides a boost of scoring, like I'd be okay with that. I'm not okay with him making $25 million a year in future years, but like for right now, sure. One thing I was interested in, Will, and I wanted to get your opinion on this. So our guy Michael Pina, who won an award today. I want to look that up. What award he actually won? He won a writer's award today. But he said in his last article on The Ringer, when he was talking about the Celtics, that he thinks the trade that makes the most sense actually involves the Brooklyn Nets. He thinks that it should be an Anthony Simons for Terrence Mann straight up trade, right? Where the Celtics end up saving, I think it's like over $10 million, and they get under the first apron. I think that's how it goes. What were your thoughts on Terrence Mann? What would your thoughts be on a deal like that?
So tonight, not super impressed with Terrence Mann. I thought, just kind of blah, just not much really for me. But I was thinking during the game, Terrence Mann has been a guy in the past that would have qualified as a my guy type of guy. Like one of those guys that I feel like has really, so specifically, during some of those Clippers runs when it was unexpected, like he made some real impactful moments on that team that went to the Western Conference Finals, on some of these other playoff runs they had. Like Terrence Mann was a guy that was able to provide a role, right? And be able to make an impact. I think right now with this Brooklyn team, I mean, this is just a young team where him, Claxton, and Porter are kind of the old heads. Like Terrence Mann's the oldest guy on this team. He's 29 years old.
Right.
Like they're definitely playing out of position as far as like where they should be within a good team. And so for me, it was kind of hard to judge who Terrence Mann is based off what he's doing with the Nets, because he's just not going to be doing that with if he was on the Celtics or on a good team. But I didn't find him very impressive tonight. I will say that. Like I didn't find anything that really stood out. But I have liked him in the past, so I like the idea in theory.
Right. And Pina's idea is purely salary. He's not saying like, oh, Terrence
Yeah.
Mann is going to be a difference maker for the Celtics. He's pretty much going to be redundant with Ugo Gonzalez and all the guys that we've been talking
Mhm.
about playing that role, the Jordan Walshes and the Josh Minets, right? So there's really not that much space for him if you're
A little bit
looking
more
at
of a
him as an
two-way
extra
guy
piece.
though, to your point of Simons not getting run in the,
Mhm.
towards the end of the game because Joe is just like, all right, last 10 minutes, we're
But
not
is
losing this
is he
game.
a two-way guy or is he just a defensive player?
Yeah, I mean that's fair. You're right. I mean, I would say he can put the ball on the deck a little bit more than
Mhm.
some of the guys that are just one-sided defensively. Although Josh Minott hit some shots tonight. Again, that's going to be every night between Josh Minott and Ugo and Jordan Walsh. Like, hey, they hit some shots tonight. They look way better as an option. Some nights they don't hit any shots, and it's like, okay, they're just like more leaning on the defensive end.
Yeah.
Like Terrence Mann could give you a little bit more ball handling, right? Like that's something
Yeah.
that if you're just looking for what
He was
else
br
that
he
he
was
brings
bringing
to
the
the
ball
table.
up against pressure and everything, and I thought he
Mhm.
looked okay, aside from that one time he tripped when, Hauser ripped him. And
Yeah.
that deal would go through 27, 28. So you'd be locking in like $15 million a year out of Terrence Mann through 27, 28, and
Mhm.
maybe looking at him as a piece or a piece that you can move.
So I
Okay,
don't. Well,
go
hold
ahead.
on. I want to just add one piece of this because, like, just I was also looking salary wise. Like, this is really how I'm starting to look at the Simons experience. Is what can we do with the salary? Whether it's
Mhm.
reduce it or how do we turn his spot or his salary spot or part of his salary spot into something productive and not necessarily just for this year. So the same idea that Pina had, right? Like, hey, we can reduce the salary, reduce the tax bill, and maybe give us a player that when Tatum comes back, there's some type of use for. For me, my mind obviously goes to, how can we, because I think Nimi Esqueda didn't have a great game tonight, but overall this season, I think he's been really great. Like, I think he's proving everything that we were hoping for so far. Still a long season. You got to get through the whole season consistently to really hit that mark, but I think he's doing it so far. 9 points, 8 rebounds, block and a half, great defensive metrics. Like, cool. I'm coming around to this is the idea. Nimi is part of a real rotation. I'm getting
Mhm.
there, and I think that's like really solid part of the season. I don't know if I'm there that he's going to be a starter on when we're a high level team. We'll see. Time will tell. But in
He's
my mind,
talented enough,
that's
it's just, is he disciplined enough?
right. It's just still a question mark. That's all. I think it could
Yeah.
go either way. But my point being, Simon's making 26, 27 million, whatever it is. I've been trying to look around at different centers that we could bring in because it's if you have Nimi for half the game and it's that Luke Garza part, which he's been good, but when you get into a high leverage game, he's going
Mhm.
to kill you defensively. You can't have him out
Right.
there. So we just played the Clippers, right? Like this one's a bit of a dream scenario, but they're just completely melting down, right? And they're
Yeah.
have you I'm sure you've seen what happens to their first round pick this year.
It goes to the Thunder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their first round pick, which could be apparently in a loaded draft with 3 to 4
Is it
what could be
unprotected?
number 1 picks. It's unprotected. Yeah,
Oh my god.
it's part of the Paul George trade. Uh it's going to the Thunder. So the Thunder might be who they are right now, who we just talked about, and they might get one of these top guys. That's a realistic possibility. So, like the Clippers down the road might have to just say, fuck it. We got to like sell off parts and we got to get what we
Yeah.
can back. And so like a guy like Zubac who makes, I think like I looked it up earlier. I don't know if I still have this trade
Give me
pulled
all of
up
Zubac.
here. Right. And so I think that would be an expensive route to go. And so here's what I put together. I actually do have it pulled up here in one of my
Okay.
tabs. So using the Simons contract, I'm adding in Sam Hauser here. This
Ooh.
year's Celtics pick. Yeah.
Okay.
This year's Celtics pick unprotected. So this is kind of like everyone, depending on where we're at the trade deadline, is gambling like, hey, if you guys fall in the lottery, we have a chance that you're losing out on. So let's gotta like kind of balance that out. Another first round pick down the line here. We'll figure out what year it is. So essentially two unprotected first round picks, Simons Hauser. You get Zubac. You'd have to take on. I mean, I like Bogdanovic. He's been kind of hurt the last couple of years. So he's got an extra year that you're taking
Mhm.
on. And so this is them. Clippers are trying to shed salary, get young guys, get tradable assets. And then you have to throw in like one guy at like 2 point something million to just make the salaries work. But you're giving up decent amount of draft equity. Simons is just kind of cap filler, a flyer for them. Hauser's a valuable piece. It's
What's
probably not
Zubac's
enough.
contract?
So he's 18 mil plus 2 years. So essentially if you trade from in season, 2.5 years at roughly 18, 19 million.
And the reason you're matching salaries is because they're both apron teams.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think bringing in Zubac, who is an all defensive candidate like every single year, and he's huge, and he's more mobile than I think he gets credit for. I would love to have Zubac, and
that's my pie in the sky idea.
Yeah. I mean, that you always want to try and take advantage of teams that are in turmoil, right? And are looking for anything that they can get. And a Celtics unprotected pick this year would be a nice little win for them. And it helps the Celtics moving forward. I think that's a really nice idea. Obviously the Clippers would be the team that would say no to that. But to your point, if they really just need draft equity at this point, like that's a guy that you might be able to go get. On a smaller end of that, I think that what the Celtics could do, looking at the Nets again, I really like Day'Ron Sharp coming off the bench.
This crossed my mind today at one point in the game because I was thinking of guys, and I haven't really looked up Day'Ron. I mean, it's not going to be that
2-year, $12.5 million contract,
yeah,
with a team option next year.
This is the lower. So the other guy that I was thinking of is Daniel Gafford, who we talked a bunch about in the offseason. Mavericks also kind of going through it. Like their situation with the cap's a lot more complicated. You got to get like an exact match. I couldn't figure it out, and I wasn't going to dive into like a whole 3-team scenario, but there's potentially ways to do that. It's like a $14 million salary. So like this is where there's like levels to it, right? Where if we're trying to find that other big man, where like Zoo is probably the top level of like somehow if we can get that done, I'm willing to risk a decent amount of draft equity because I do think he solves a lot of problems. Then there's kind of Daniel Gafford, who's like a next rung below. And then Day'Ron Sharp is kind of, as I was watching this game, Greg, it's funny. Our minds are, we must be best friends or something because it crossed both of our minds here. Was watching this. I was like, I hadn't thought about Day'Ron Sharp just because I don't really watch the Nets a ton, but he was a guy, unlike Terrence Mann, who did stick out tonight that I was like, you know what? That would be pretty quality to have Day'Ron Sharp and Neemias Queta as our two bigs each night, like especially when you throw Tatum back in the mix. Like that looks a lot better. Just even that right there, just that addition.
Yeah, I thought the Nets front court was better than the Celtics front court tonight. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there's just the other guys weren't very good. So like I like Claxton and I like Sharp. So actually liked Clowney as well, who started at the 4 for them. He's on a 4-year rookie scale contract worth a total of $15 million. So that goes through 26, 27. Can't really shoot, but dude, him standing next to Jaylen Brown, he towered over Jaylen Brown. And his arms are like down to the floor. I was like, Jesus.
Talking about Clowney or Sharp?
Clowney. Yeah.
Clowney, I was like, Clowney hit 3 threes tonight. He was, he was at the half. I was at the box score. It was Clowney, I think Porter Jr. and Igor were 10 for 10 from 3. I was like, that's a pretty damn good half to have. You got 3 guys 10 for 10. But yeah, I think Clowney and Sharp are 2 guys that are on that probably 3rd level that I would like. I wouldn't mind seeing the Celtics find a way to try to get involved if the Nets are, making moves with some of their cap space. Because that's what this Nets team is. This Nets team is just young. It's confusing. It's again,
only 21.
Yeah, super young. And so again, these are the games that you can't lose, but also the games where we as fans, it's almost like a scouting game, right? It's almost like watching a college game. Like, who could I dream about us getting? Because none of these guys, for the most part, are unrealistic, right? Like we just mentioned Zubac, that's probably an unrealistic trade. That's not happening. Gafford's complicated. Stuff with the Nets, if you wanted to make it happen, you probably just have to make the right offer, and you can legitimately make it happen. So it's interesting to think about these guys. And it's Day'Ron Sharp, 7 to 10 from the field tonight. He was 2 or 3 from the free throw line, 16 points, 7 rebounds, had 3 steals. Some of the steals are just product of bad basketball by the Celtics, but still it's on the stat sheet here. But 18 minutes, and I think Day'Ron Sharp is a great call out here as a buy low type of guy that I think would make a lot of sense as potentially an upgrade over somebody like Garza.
Yeah, and I think with like Brad Stevens, he's the type of guy that's going to watch these games. Like, just as you said, like we're scouting, Brad Stevens is scouting as well. He's looking for those bargain basement deals that he can get. Like that's what he saw with Josh Minott. That's what he saw with Luka Garza, guys that he can take a chance on. And I think Day'Ron Sharp and Noah Clowney would both be 2 guys that I'd really like to just get a peek at. Anything else you want to talk about with this game? Because it's the Nets.
Yeah, it's the Nets again. Right, exactly. Like as long as we don't lose this game, you accomplished the mission, right? Like the 19 turnovers was gross. 8 of them came from Jalen, but at the same time, he had 17 points in the third, completely changed the game around and gave the Celtics the space. You know, Pritchard and White, you know, up and down again with a little bit with the shooting that's coming around, but I just can't really get too much into it. The only thing that I think we could talk a little bit about, as you mentioned, you know, no minutes DNP for Ugo tonight. Minot comes in and gets 20, just over 19 minutes off the bench, has a pretty big third quarter along with to kind of be Jalen's sidekick in that. Jordan Walsh got his 5th start, but barely plays in the second half, a little bit of foul trouble. Again, I think kind of what we talked about last episode is going to be the case here, where it's just like every 2 weeks, like we might as well start power ranking these 3 guys as to where they're at every couple of weeks, because I just feel like it's going to keep changing. And so, you know, Walsh came in as the clubhouse leader tonight. By the time we leave and we get to Friday, maybe Minot has a starting spot back. I don't know how quickly Joe's gonna make these changes. Maybe Ugo all of a sudden gets those minutes off the bench, but it just feels like it's gonna be every week or every 2 weeks we're gonna have a different feeling of who's leading the power rankings.
What are your thoughts on him giving Shireman a chance? I just don't see it with Shireman at all.
Yeah, I wanted to see it with Shireman. I'm with you. It's kind of painful to watch, to be honest.
Yeah.
I guess it's almost like an audition, right? Like, you know, he's in his 2nd year. It's, you know, especially in a game like this, and it feels like it's 1 game a week, right? That Joe is just like, all right, tonight Baylor's getting 10 to 15 minutes, and we're gonna see what he has. And it hasn't been great. It just hasn't been. It looks funky, and it looks funky in a way that's not appealing. Like, you know, sometimes you watch a guy and you're like, it's helter skelter, it's off balance, and it's that with Baylor, but it feels sloppy.
Yeah, his shot selection's not great, and the shot's not going in. Yeah, it's terrible. He shoots bombs with no rhythm whatsoever. Defensively, you can see he has some potential. He's pretty good at navigating screens. He's physical. He stays in really good position. He had a couple dumb fouls tonight, but I think
the dumb fouls ruined it. There was one possession on the right wing. I'm like, all right, there you go, Baylor. And then just for absolutely no reason, kept his body going right into the guy, put his hands on. It's like, Baylor, that it was just, I mean, maybe that's something you grow out of, but you know, it's
Joe. I was surprised Joe let him play through that initial mistake, and then he made a second dumb foul a couple minutes later, and then he took him out for Pritchard. Yeah, but I just I understand your point. You have to audition him. You spent the draft pick on him. Maybe another team sees him as a reclamation project that they might be able to get something out of, but I just don't see him necessarily being part of the next contending team for the Celtics. I don't think Baylor Shireman's part of those plans. So any minutes that he's on the court, I'm just like, these are wasted. Like, he's not going to be part of the next team. So that's just kind of how I feel.
And it feels like, I'm assuming you're like, why can't these go to Ugo? Right. That feels just more productive, right? Like if you had those 13 minutes, you just put Ugo in, and I think this is probably kind of, you know, early season, like, all right, let's decide by, you know, because it's now 8-7, so 15 games in. We'll decide by, you know, another 10 to 15 games here. We get to game 25, 30. Shireman's never seen the floor again. Like if he doesn't show any promise, and it's all Ugo, Minot, and Jordan Walsh, and it will be that rotation that we're talking about within those power rankings. Because right now it does feel like out of those 3 wings, Ugo, Minot, and Walsh, it's typically Ugo, the one, at least right now, is the one that's catching the DNPs, right? Like Minot has, at least for now, established himself as a guy. It's not, I can't imagine. It would feel very shocking for Minot at this point to catch a full DNP.
Right. And that's kind of how Joe operates, though. Like, if you're a rookie, you don't really get that much of an opportunity, right? With Joe. It's been surprising that Ugo has gotten the opportunity to play as much as he has already. Like, he makes people work for their spots. And it says a lot about Ugo that he's already earned some minutes on the court, but coming into the season, we were expecting Jordan Walsh to get that opportunity, and then he
Right.
was outplayed by both of them. He was also injured in the preseason, so I think he kind of like missed out on his chance to show what he could do in the preseason. So it's good to see.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to see that we're both like back on. Oh, Jordan Walsh could be a future part of this team, whereas like a
Yeah.
couple of weeks ago we were out on him.
We were sending him to China. Like we
Yeah.
were completely out on him. And I mean, I was thinking about this today because I read an article that Noah Dalzell put out on Celtics blog, which is a good read, and it talks about how a plane seat opened up next to Jaylen Brown with Kristaps Porzingis no longer there, and Jordan Walsh said, "I didn't give him a choice. I just started sitting there," and it talked about how Jaylen has been to a degree somewhat mentoring Jordan Walsh, like talking about how somebody has to go guard the other team's best player. Everyone knows. Maybe it's a little bit of Jaylen, like, hey man, I'm pretty fucking tired. Like I could use someone else to go do it. And you think about it, and Jordan Walsh has been matching up since he came into the league with Jaylen Brown, with Jason Tatum, watching Drew Holiday, watching Derek White. Like he's had some of the best guys for 2+ years to be able to watch and learn from and to, craft his skill against. And so this is something where apparently, and Jordan Walsh says in the article, he's not sure if Jaylen actually did this, but where Jaylen said, I'm going to talk to Joe. And like to get Jordan Walsh into these games. And to your point about the reversal that we've made on Jordan Walsh, it's like Jordan Walsh literally went from being, what do you do? Like I hadn't seen him do anything of tangible, like concrete evaluation that could make of him for the NBA to all of a sudden guarding Paolo, Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, like Jaren Jackson, and doing the whole spectrum and doing it well. And it's been refreshing. It's been shocking. And then tonight, obviously tonight I don't know if you have any thoughts on his play tonight. A little bit of foul trouble, so he doesn't really play as much.
He had that one nice drive out of the left corner.
I love that.
Where
that was great.
Jumped on 2 feet and then just kind of like laid it to the left hand, which is a very difficult move to pull off. I thought he was a little gun shy anytime he got the ball in the corner. I felt like he could have probably got a couple more threes. Well, he didn't shoot any threes tonight, so could have got a couple threes up there. But yeah, it was just a rough night for him. That's going to happen, when you're starting for the first time in your life and you're guarding a really crafty screen navigator like Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah, that's the interesting part, right? Is everyone else has been more on ball, or Jaren Jackson was going to try and bully him, right? That he's just been like, cool, I just got to guard the guy with the ball. Porter Jr., for whatever you feel about him and or his podcast game, he is a great screen navigator and he's a really good shooter, and it's tough because he's so big, right? Like that is what he does really well and he's really elite at. And so when you talk about all the guys I just listed out, Porter is drastically a different cover than what those other guys are. So I think that's an important point to bring up. And then I think it leads to, the next game Celtics have here, which is until Friday night against the Nets. And that's going to give Jordan Walsh a second chance, right? So I hope that Joe actually sticks with Jordan Walsh in the starting line, because I want to see actually what Jordan Walsh's, how he adjusts to having to do that coverage twice. Because again, that's the best part about these matchups where you play the same team twice. It is a mini playoff series, even though it's not going to the playoffs. But it's okay, cool. That guy got you. He got you in game 1. What are you going to do in game 2 to get him? So I hope Joe sticks with Jordan so that we get a chance to see that there. But yeah, Nets games, man, hard to find content. Anything else you want to talk about tonight?
Not necessarily. We could talk a little bit about the Clippers game if you wanted to. I don't really feel the need to at this point. Like, I guess the only thing would be Jaylen Brown stepping up with 13 rebounds in that game after you called him out.
Clearly a fan of the podcast.
Loves the pod, takes it as motivation, said, fuck you, Will. I'm getting 13 rebounds tonight. I did watch that game with my dad. And at one point, he looks at the box score and he's like, whoa, Jaylen Brown shot 33 shots. That's way too many shots. It's like, that's what we have to do with this team, Dad. Yeah. Like, because he hasn't really been watching the Celtics. I was like, we don't have Jason Tatum when we lost like a whole bunch of guys from last year. Jaylen Brown's gonna have
Drew
to
Holiday's averaging like 18 points out in Portland. Like, crazy. We don't have anyone that can score. And so, it's interesting talking about Jaylen Brown getting those rebounds. Do you want to know, like part of that goes back to the Jordan Walsh point, hey, someone else can guard these other guys so that Derek White can get back to doing the Derek White thing. So Jaylen Brown can get back to doing to hitting the boards more, to being the guy that can go off for 17 points and use his energy more efficiently. Like, that's a big part of Jordan Walsh stepping up and guarding those guys that we all listed. So Clippers game, I to your point, I don't think there's too much to mention there. Again, the clutch time is going to be tough. The teams making a comeback on the Celtics. Wake me up if that's news to you, because it shouldn't be. I don't know what's happening in the chat here. Somebody got knocked out. I don't know. We'll see if we get see if we get that story. But with the Clippers, again, they're falling apart. Not too much. I'm looking here, Greg, just kind of at like other games going on tonight as we're recording. Man, Pistons. They are just rolling right now. They beat the Hawks tonight 120-112. They're now 13-2. And
do you want to go old fashioned look at the standings? We haven't looked at the standings in a while.
Let's take a look at it, because I was looking at it earlier today, man, and the Pistons, at least in the East, are kind of separating themselves right now. But then 2 through, the Celtics were 11th going into tonight. They've jumped up to 9th now. But 2 through 11, it's tight, man. It's tight. It's what is it? 2 games separate 2 through 11 in the East. So a week makes all the difference. So again, to the point that we started this podcast on, you play the Nets, you play the Wizards, you play the Pacers, as banged up as they are. You got to get dubs. If you have any dreams of being in the top of that play-in or being outside of the play-in, you cannot lose those games.
For sure. Let's I'm just going to read out the standings right now for those that are listening, driving to work tomorrow morning, or, don't have a screen in front of them. So the Pistons are 13-2 right now on an 11-game winning streak in first place right now. The Cavs are 10-5 in second place. The Raptors, my team, my dark horse team.
Raptors, that's right.
They've turned it around. They are 9-5, 8-2 in their last 10 games. The Knicks, who lost a heartbreaker last night to the Heat, they are 8-5. The Philadelphia 76ers still playing good basketball. They got Paul George back in their last game. They are now 8-5 in fifth place. Atlanta Hawks hanging in there without Trae Young at 9-6. So those are your top 6 teams right now. Then you go to the play-in. You have the Miami Heat. They were playing good basketball. I actually caught a few Heat games of late, and they're pretty interesting.
Dude, they're playing good ball, and they're playing ball without Bam and Hero right now. Like, that's an interesting team to watch, and they've been funner than I expected.
When do we first play?
That's a good question. I'll look that up while you keep
going.
Through
So the Heat are in 7th place at 8-6. The Bulls, after that hot start, are now 7-6. They're 4-6 in their last 10. Josh Giddey just came back last night, got a big victory for them. And then our Boston Celtics in 9th place right now at 8-7, 6-4 in our last 10. And the Orlando Magic, 7-3 in their last 10. They are in 10th place at 8-7. The Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis out for a couple weeks with a groin strain, are now in 11th place. And that's the thing you said about the Bucks, man. If Giannis goes down for an extended period, that's a free fall waiting to happen. So we'll see if they can hang around the play-in picture over the next couple of weeks without Giannis. Some other news and notes around the NBA. Victor Wembanyama, man, goes down with a calf strain. They're playing it safe with him right now, so he's going to miss a couple of weeks. Shout out to Giannis and Wemby. The NBA is better when they're healthy.
Yeah, I didn't love seeing either of those injuries happen the other night. Spurs did get a win tonight against the Grizzlies. And to answer your earlier question, Greg, Celtics play the Heat for the first time in December. December 19th is when we'll see the Heat for the first time. So I'm not sure. I think Tyler Hero should be close to coming back at that time. Not sure about the Bam timeline. But this is a time where the Bucks are potentially, right now, the latest update was 1 to 2 weeks. So if it's 1 to 2 weeks, they can probably, take a look at what their schedule is. They might be able to be okay. But if you get to 3-4 weeks, man, without Giannis, that team is going to struggle. And I really like, I've talked a bunch of times here about Ryan Rollins. Like, he's not going to carry your team, right? I'm sorry. That's just too much to ask for. So that will be the team that we really got to look for over the next couple of weeks to see where they end up and see if there is any separation that starts to be created in this mix. But right now it's the Pistons, who are just on fire. the Cavs, and then the Knicks are dealing with their own injuries. Like you mentioned, I did catch some of that Knicks Heat game last night. No Brunson, no OG. Deuce McBride taking one of the worst end of game shots I've seen in a while. He had a great game, but it was just a horrible shot at the end of that game. But yeah, the Knicks I think they'll be fine. They'll be fine. So not really worried about it. So I think it really comes down to like the Bucks falling, and then everybody else is just kind of where we thought this was going to be a dogfight, where everyone's going to be within 1, 2, 3 games of each other. And that's what gives you hope and leads you to why our conversation turned into an Anthony Simons trade convo for half of the box score was, hey, if Tatum does come back, because these videos continue to look encouraging, what does this team look like with one more real guy, one more guy filling a gap that was very
There's
obvious
just a
there.
bunch of blah in the Eastern Conference, man. Like the Pistons, Cavs, and Knicks are the only teams that like are definitively better than the Celtics. Like definitively. Like I think all the other teams, they're good enough like to where I wouldn't be surprised if the Celtics end up as a 9 seed. But like if Jason Tatum's able to come back and the Celtics are hanging around the 6 seed, there's no reason why the Celtics can't, with a healthy Jason Tatum and a nice Anthony Simons trade, get up into that 4 or 5.
Exactly.
And that's just what I want to see happen this year is Anthony Simons won't be on the Celtics and Jason Tatum will be playing with a new center that Anthony Simons gets us.
Yeah, and that's you're spot on. It's those 3 teams. Everyone else is like, if Jason Tatum comes back and the Celtics are anywhere within 2-3 games of that, that mix of teams that we're talking about, like they've got to be shitting themselves. They're like, fuck, we wasted this, man. Like we should have buried them when we had a chance this season. And yeah, it's just a bunch of mediocrity. But to be fair, even when you look out West, Greg, like I kind of feel like in general, like the West is certainly better, but the Thunder are on a whole different level. The Nuggets and the Rockets, I think, are kind of on like this own separate tier. And like the Lakers, Spurs, T-Wolves, like they're better than a lot of teams in the East, but I also don't think they're like invincible teams either. Right. Like I think there's really 3 legit teams in the Western Conference that are better than everyone else in the entire league. There's a little subsection of the East, and then it's kind of like a lot of teams that are not that far away from being on pretty equal footing. So a Jason Tatum return is a massive boost, obviously, Captain Obvious here, for the Celtics if and when we get to that point. So we'll keep looking. We'll keep looking for that Anthony Simons trade. See if we can find what happens here. See what Brad is scouting as we continue to scout. But I think that's going to do it here. We're not going to get a story, it looks like, from the chat here of whatever happened with somebody getting knocked out. So we're not going to sit around waiting for that. So Celtics back in action on Friday against the Nets. And then after that, we'll be heading into the Thanksgiving week. So we'll have some mixed coverage on that. So we'll figure out what we're going to do for that. But some interesting games that week: Orlando, Detroit, and Minnesota, with Cleveland the following Sunday. So once we get past the Brooklyn game, big 4-game stretch, which also makes Friday kind of a must win, right? Like you have to get that.
And
Brooklyn
it's a cup
win.
Game, baby.
Ooh,
we got to stay alive in the NBA Cup. We got to stay. We do have one question, Will. I feel like we should
we'll answer this and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, Parquet Press. Shout out to Parquet Press. Said they just joined the stream. What are the chances JT comes back by February 8th versus the New York Knicks? Are you looking to get tickets, Parquet Press? Is that why you're asking? Are you looking to sell your tickets? Yeah.
Little revenge against the Knicks. I would say unlikely, but what the fuck do I know? I'm not a doctor. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what's happening. But I mean, my best get like
that would be poetic.
Like, yeah, it feels like at this point, like a late February early. There you go. Yeah, it had to be ticket related. It feels like late February, early March would be the timeline that you're kind of start to really be like, is this happening, and or is it worth it, depending on where the Celtics are in the standing. So I my guess is, unfortunately, I would say you're probably like at best a week or two, probably like 2 weeks early as to when a Jason Tatum return might happen, but who knows? It could be one of those things where it comes out of the blue and they're like, holy shit, Jason Tatum's back next week, and we didn't know it was happening, or he's back tonight.
Oh man, that just got me excited.
I know.
Jalen is fucking balling this year, man. Like
he's been awesome.
The 8 turnovers aside tonight, like I don't even care about the 8 turnovers. Jaylen Brown has been unfucking believable this year. Like he is surpassing my greatest expectations for like what he would be able to accomplish this
Mhm.
year. And it all started when Joe Mazzulla was just like, oh, we're just going to like make you do all the things you do good and just make you do them great and
Right.
feature you
Not
as
try
the
to make
number
you
one
Jason
option.
Tatum.
Yeah, you just be yourself, my guy.
Yeah.
And Jaylen Brown has been fucking hooping. That's my guy. I'm so excited to see it. And I can't
Yeah.
wait to see if and when Jason Tatum comes back, how they figure out that balance, because they're clearly finding something with Jaylen Brown in the mid range and, having him just be a fucking force of nature off the ball.
Yeah, we said this was a big pendulum swing year for Jaylen Brown as to what his value is. It's up and to the right, right? That's where it's going, and it's been awesome to see because the season could be really, really, really depressing if it was going the other way. But Jaylen Brown has been awesome, and I if it's one of those things where it's funny. There's so many detractors that I feel like have been out there for Jaylen Brown's whole career. He's awesome right now. The team just doesn't kind of matter. It's in the middle of that blah Eastern Conference. So he
Yeah.
gets a lot of passing. He gets a lot of like passing in the bottom of the notes. Like, hey, Jaylen Brown, he's been great. All right, on to the next team. And it's like,
Right.
damn, I wish
And
Jaylen
like,
got a
how many
little
of
bit
those
more
people are
credit.
actually watching the Celtics right now? They're probably just like looking at Jaylen Brown box scores, like, oh, like they'll probably look at the 8 turnovers tonight and be like, oh, it's Jaylen Brown, like, regressing back to
Right.
all the stupid Jaylen Brown shit. It's like, yeah, he had some bad turnovers, but like he was the whole reason the Celtics like won the game.
Yeah, 100%. So, great season from Jaylen Brown. I did see an early All-Star prediction from, I think it was Nikias Duncan at Yahoo. Yeah, Jaylen Brown was in there with flying colors. So, I think Jaylen Brown's well on his way to doing everything that we asked of him. But let's wrap it up on this one here. We will be back maybe this weekend. We'll figure it out. Thanksgiving, got some travel plans here in the mix. So we'll figure out some coverage and we will have some more thoughts for you guys. But as always, make sure you're following at Green MV Pod. YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. Shout out to our guy, Alex, the producer, for the clips that he's putting out for us. We'll have that for you guys. Greg, always a pleasure. Everybody else, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your week. And we'll catch you later with the over 500 Boston Celtics. Catch you later. Peace.